Welcome back to another video. My name is Aaron and I help people expand their consciousness. Now on this video, I'll be sharing with you 3 things to do when unwanted things are manifesting. Now with this process, and just to set the record straight, when it comes to this process, we must realize that the external reality and what we perceive is a reflection of who we are being on the inside. So when I even frame the question, it's coming with the awareness that we must work on ourselves and understand that we can't go out and try to fix something without also at the same time making some internal change within ourselves. So this comes from the classic saying that I say in all my videos: we don't attract necessarily that which we want, but always a reflection of who we are being. So there is some purpose behind those things coming up, and it might not even be that negative of a thing. Now it could actually, from a certain point of view, be a good thing, because those unwanted situations could be bringing in front of us some definitions that are out of alignment that we have, some things that we're focused on that can kind of make us realize that we have to shift our focus. And when we start to come at it from that perspective, we really start to gain a lot of our power back. Now the first one I have for you is understanding that what we must do is begin to release the resistance. So a lot of times, if what we are presently experiencing is some negative effect of us not wanting it to be there, that will be an anchor into us continuing to experience that over and over again, simply because that's the energy state that we are in. So the power of this is knowing that we can simply allow the moment to be. We can allow ourselves to observe the emotions that we feel, not necessarily be attached to them, but learn how to observe them as not either good or bad, they just simply are. What this allows us to do is to then let go of the resistance that's built up, and it really allows us to be more present to the moment, but it's also a necessary step in order for us to then shed that energy, that attachment that we have to that resistance, so that we then don't perceive of the external reflection of it more and more. And simple ways of doing that is becoming present to the moment, bringing the energy and the awareness out of the head and overthinking so much, and bringing it more into the body. Meditation can help do this, but the idea is to not be attached to the outcome, not be attached to what is happening, and simply know that we can observe it, come up with the actions that we can take, but do it from a point of presence. Now the second one has to do with understanding that the external reality that is reflecting back to us, that we may not prefer to be experiencing those characteristics, we can start to become aware of our definitions about that. Are we saying that this is a problem? Are we starting to label what it means? And as we become aware of what our definitions are, that's when we can start to see it and we can reframe it in a positive way. Now, a way that we would go about this is we would notice our language patterns for the way that we're talking about it. If we're saying this always happens, or why does this roadblock have to come here, when we say things like that, right in the definitions themselves, right in the language patterns themselves, we can then see that there's some limitation in our mind, there's some way that we're thinking about it that is imposing that kind of experience. So in a way, be grateful that it's happening, because you can become aware of that definition, and you could simply decide that you're going to reframe it. Know that it's a powerful thing because you've brought the subconscious into the conscious, and then from that point of view, you're able to then move forward, and you're able to then let go of all of those definitions that don't serve. Now the third one has everything to do with understanding the one thing that we always have the ability to control, and that's what things mean to us. So it's very similar to the second one, but understand that we are meaning generating machines, that we are always looking, we are always asking certain questions in our mind, and when we ask those questions, our brain then looks for the answers. If we are assuming that that this means and this unwanted experience means some type of label, means something about who we are, we start to internalize it, we are then allowing the external circumstances to control us in a negative way. Simply realize and bring the awareness that the only thing that you really have control over is your internal state of being, is how you choose to feel. As you begin to change that meaning, you'll find you then have a different visceral type experience, and you'll find that you then begin to enjoy the process. The other quick tip I have for you is to simply loosen up about it. See it in almost a comical type way, and as you begin to loosen it up, you find that things happen better. Many times the resistance that we have, the seriousness we have, keeps us in that pattern, keeps us making it so much more important than it actually is. And when we just loosen up about it, we make everything much more flexible and then much more malleable based upon that state of being. So remember that this is all simply about realizing that the meaning that we assume and that we impose on it is going to have an effect on the kind of experiences that we have. When we begin to become aware that the external is a reflection of who we are being and our internal state of being, we can then focus more on being who we prefer, on releasing the resistance, on focusing on the emotions, and then things will begin to reflect that back to us. So with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Feel free to like this video if you liked it, subscribe if you haven't already, and as always, I will see you guys on the next vid. Peace, much love, namaste. All right, bye.